All right, guys, thank you so much for all of the nice comments and all of the individuals reaching out to me personally through Messenger and friend requests saying nice things and asking me questions about how I built out this case. Like I said before, I learned so much from this group. You know, I've been doing this a long time. A little bit about myself. I live in coastal Shoreline, Connecticut, so most of the gigs I do are high-end weddings at beach hotels and beach clubs and places like that. So when I build my system, when I built this system in particular, it was important to me that on the client sides, the three sides, there are no wires. Nobody sees anything but a clean setup. A lot of times I'm in smaller rooms where I don't necessarily have the ability to put up a full facade. So what I'll do is I'll take a system like this and I'll use the lid of this case and put it on top of this quick lock stand, which is really cool. It folds up very small. The brand name is Quick Lock. If you don't have one, get one. It's adjustable height. Really awesome. So I'll put this lid on that stand, put my white tablecloth over the lid, this on top of it. Many of you asked why I have a power out here. I'll put a couple of the older style LED uplights that don't have batteries under there shooting up, you know, to illuminate the white scrim. So it looks nice and no wires are seen. And then as far as wire management, I'll take these two out to my sub right here that I keep right next to me. And then I have my speakers off to either side with wires taped down and nobody sees anything. I'll do a video after this one, maybe tomorrow or early next week, on power management and all of the different types of power cords that I've made to show where I could basically have one daisy chain of power cord without any slack anywhere to handle everything. So to get right into this video as to how I made this, I'll show you what I used. These are called PowerCon connectors. They're the same thing as like Speak-On before people used powered speakers and they had Speak-On connectors. You'll need a male and a female one of these, and you'll need some of these plug-on connectors to connect the power. It's always good to have some little cable clamps and some wire ties, little mini ones. Shrink tubing goes a long way. All of your connections should be shrink tubed and then taped. You'll also need you know, some male and female, and the only difference in this part number to distinguish the male is the NC3F would be female, and these are the gold-plated XLR connectors with the really good strain relief. And then you'll need, obviously, some jacks, male and female, depending on whether it's line in or line out. And these are solder connectors too. And if you guys have any interest, I know some of you emailed me and said, well, I don't know how to solder. I could do a little video on soldering as well, because I've gotten pretty good at it over the years. And then of course when it comes to cabling, you only use the good stuff. Conair is what I use, shielded quad cable. So there's, I don't know if you can see that, there's 4 cables in there and the shield. And then another thing that made it key for me to be able to do this on either side was I sacrificed a 2 rack space blank panel, and I basically measured and I cut, and then I drilled 2 holes on either side. All of these Nutric connectors, they use a standard 24 millimeter hole, so you'll need a 24 millimeter hole saw as well as a soldering iron and some ability to solder. So those are the parts I used, and let me put this off to the side and we'll get right into unboxing this thing so I can show you what's underneath. Let me take this stuff out. Oh, by the way, you know, I know a lot of you guys are experienced that are watching this, so you already know this. This is for the newer guys. These things right here are the most important things in the case. You restock your business cards after every show. You need to have gum and breath mints with you, because you could be the greatest DJ in the world, but if you've got some toxic ass breath that smells like you've been sucking on a shit sickle all night long, somebody comes over to talk to you, forget about it, it's game over. And you need to have batteries, because there's no excuse for a dead battery during a show. So I'll unplug the power and the USB and my main outs and my mic 1 and 2, and I'm going to lay this right here while I move this over to my other table. Okay, so this is the inside. A lot of stuff. It looks messy, but it's not too bad. So first of all, any of you who have any Sennheiser mic racks know that they're half width, and they come with a adapter plate that connects the two together to make them one. So here I put a Sure mixer next to a Sennheiser antenna combiner, and there's no such thing as a good way to mount them. So I sort of jury-rigged this with some gaff tape just to keep them together. It doesn't move, it's fine. So here we go. This is that engineered where I basically stole half of a piece of a 2U rack panel, and I cut it. It actually goes into about here, and this foam, if any of you are familiar with this case, is really hard. So just with a razor blade, I made a little bit of a slice. So this is actually embedded into this foam about 1/2 inch. So it's really not going anywhere. And then looking down, you'll see my connections for the mic lines and the main outs. And basically, this goes to this custom cord that I made over here. So everything's wire tied together, but here's my cord. And it's just looped around, and it's going to these main ends on this Go rack. And then I made these two shorties. Bear with me. I made these two shorties to come out, and these are what's going into the back of my mixer. So my main outs coming out of the mixer, going to the main in the Go rack, out of the main outs on the Go rack, going to this panel right here. And then this microphone, that one's going to this right here, and that plugs into, I use my handheld microphone as mic 2, and the mic level output on the back of this Shure is going to my mic 1 on my Denon board. I'll tell you, there's a lot of you guys that commented that have the MCX6000. I have that too. I used it for years and years and years until I upgraded to this. The one feature this 8000 does not have that the 6000 had that I missed terribly is the ability to independently turn on mic 1 and mic 2. This 8000, unfortunately, only has one mic on button for both of the mic channels, and it does not have a mic 1 and mic 2 on and off. So back behind the Shure mixer, I've got these custom length cables that go to that mic and that mic under there. A lot of you asked about the power, so I bought, it's kind of a mess in here, you can't really see, but I bought this really nice Furman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 place power strip, and basically I just cut the cable at a specific length, and I made my connections right there behind it. Of course, I crimped on the power connections, and I heat shrinked them, and they're insulated. And this is in such a spot in the case where nothing can get to it. I don't know if you guys can see that metal thing underneath. A lot of you asked how I mounted these antenna things, okay? So the way I did that was, these are specific parts. You could buy them online, and they're made specifically for when you see people make custom patch panels like this, and they have a whole bunch of them. They're used as strain reliefs. In fact, I do have one right there. I don't know if you can see it. So that is a strain relief that gets bolted on to the back of these jacks, and then I don't know if you can see the little wire ties in there. You wire tie the cables onto that strain relief so that if anything gets joggled around, it's not your solder connections that are getting joggled around. So I just repurposed those same brackets for my antenna mounts, and I used flush mount BNC connectors And then here's the bottom. It's just a pass-through flush mount BNC connector. And the way I attached them to my case is, I don't know if you can see that blob of goop right there, I hot glued the hell out of the back of this panel, stuck them on, waited for it to dry, and then just put one really short depth screw on each side to really hold them in place, and they are solid. They're not going anywhere. So, also in here, that is the power supply to the 8000, velcroed onto the bottom. This is the power supply to the antenna combiner. And if any of you know about Sennheiser antenna combiners, you only need one power supply for the combiner, and then this unit is actually feeding power through the BNC cables to mic 1 and mic 2, as well as feeding power to your outboard powered active antennas for when I hook those up through those two lines. So really that's it. That's the inside. Here's my power supply for my Dell Precision laptop. Then what else do I have going on in here? Oh, this I sort of had to improvise, okay? So I ran out of plugs. This is the power supply for the Go Rack. And this is the power supply for my little light, which I'll show you that. Many of you have seen those little lights, and what I did was I had one that was in a 1 rack space mount. So I took the end of another 2-space blank rack panel, and where it screws into the rack ears, I bent it 90 degrees. So I have this nice edge. I just cut it. I drilled the holes I needed, and I remounted my little light to the bottom of my laptop shelf, so I can use it to light up my board, or in a dark situation I could bring it all the way around and light up a piece of paper that's on top of the shelf. And the next thing I'm probably going to do is put a little separator here, a little male and female connector, because I keep this thing buried under here, so it makes it difficult if I want to ever take that shelf off. It's always connected with a wire, so that's room for improvement. And the way I got 2 plugs out of one was I took your typical Christmas tree extension cord and I just cut it to like a foot long, and I offset soldered my connections, shrink tube on either side, shrink tube across the whole thing, and then wrapped it with electrical tape. So this is the underbelly of my rig. It looks like a lot of wires, but we've all seen those videos and those pictures posted on that other Facebook group called Bad DJ Setups, where these DJs have all this shit coming out of the back of their case and strewn all over the table, and that's just a mess and it looks terrible. So if it's hidden under your board, that's fine. So yeah, there is a lot of wires in here because we got all the antenna wires, all the shielded cables, and of course, no case. If you have the money, invest in a separate power supply for your laptop and hardwire it into your case, because that way you don't ever have to worry about you forgetting to throw that thing in your briefcase, and you don't have to constantly be dealing with a power supply. It's so much easier to have it built into your case. So that is it. As far as this DBX unit, all I do with that is, the only thing I use is the anti-feedback function. This thing goes on automatically when I connect power, and it remembers the last setting you had, so it's automatically turned on to anti-feedback. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm going to do another video to show what I'm doing with power distribution and power management for AC current. And then if you guys want, because a bunch of you asked or said you didn't know how to solder, I can do a real quick video on how to make a custom length cable, because to me that is really important. As you guys know, these cables are friggin' expensive. I mean, a 12, 18-inch cable can cost you 30 bucks. Well, when you're buying that cable in bulk, it's $1 a foot and the connectors are $5 a piece. So, do the math. So for 15 bucks or less, a lot less, you're making your own little cable, and and not spending $30. So that to me is key. Cell phone charger, that's a must in my opinion. I don't use it often, but it's a lifesaver when you need it. And again, don't forget the breath mints. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much.